Hello, today I will present some new talk about Java 26 and 27 features, faster starts, safer crypto, and smarter code. This to prepare me to a talk that I will give to the community of practice next week. So let's go and let's scroll those slides. So the presentation map. So I will first show you the timelines of Java 26 and Java 27. Then I will explain each of the JEP, Java Announcement Proposal, with dispatched in 4 categories. And then I will explain each of them. So the first slide is about Java 26 timeline. So Java 26 started in December 2025 and was delivered in March 2026 So you see the timeline here in this big arrow. And so it is the last version that has been released, and that is actually in a final stage. Then there is a Java 27 JDK, which is in progress. And so the release is planned for September. As you know, there is a 6 months release cadence. So we have a new version every 6 months. And normally, a long-term LTS, long-term support version, every 2 years. So every 4 versions. So first section will be about language JEP. So the features have been developed in Java 26 and Java 27. But I think in the end, in this section, we will have only one, which is the JEP about primitive pattern and switch. So you see, now with this JEP, which is a preview, and which is still a preview in Java 27, but in another step. It is to use a Boolean, long, double, and float in switch, and also to be used with instance of. And so you see, before you couldn't use this kind of type with a switch, and now you can. Okay. So now we get to the second section about libraries, and we will talk about what is developed as libraries for these 2 JDK. The first one was to remove the Applet API. So you remember about the applet, which was this little widget in web pages. And so now it is completely removed from Java Development Kit 26. So you have just to clean up if there is any reminders of this kind of stuff in your code. So if something still needs applet, it's time to replace it. This is the conclusion of this JEP. Then HTTP free. So HTTP free is a way to use a more modern way of using HTTP protocol, but it is still compliant with the older version in case your system is not ready. So you have, I think, a better way to use this protocol, but it's still usable with your old system. Then PEM encoding. Donc PEM is a privacy enhanced mail. It is a kind of protocol, and this is a preview, and this is a kind of crypto stuff. If you touch about security, you might be concerned by this JEP. I just mentioned it here, but if you have more questions, I invite you to go to fetch directly in the JEP page on a JDK 26 OpenJDK website page. And same, here there is another snippet about this PEM, which just before was encoder. So you can encode, but you can also decode. So, and it is a topic about security. I'm not really familiar with this kind of topics, because I don't work with a security matter during my daily job. But if you somebody who is developing library, you might be concerned by this kind of JEP. Then structure concurrency. So this is a way to replace the future completable. I don't know if you know this feature, which was output some release ago, and with that you can join some thread that you execute in parallel or in a other way, and so you have for example a feature, and here a feature, you execute it, you can have a response with the handle, and if we check another one, here it is the same, you have a join, so there is some feature you can wait for the completion of some, and there is the last one, which is in Java 27 the race, which takes the first arriving and cancelling the other. So I will let you check this kind of stuff. It is also some advanced topic because it is about concurrency. And in our day job, most of the time, we don't deal directly with the concurrency. It is more something that a library and API developer use to craft, to be able to take advantage of some behaviors they want to have in their libraries. Then lazy constants. So this is a way to have a more elegant code, and a way to have some kind of performance, because you only load some object when you really need it. It is a kind of the principle of lazy. You do it only when it is necessary. And in the next slide, I put something that you could find interesting, because the singleton is something that every developer knows, because it is one of the first questions you could have in a Java interview. And here is a way of to do a singleton. And you see, with this JEP, you can do this with this simple lazy constant. So it is quite efficient and more elegant. So I think a developer could find it interesting in his future development when he use a singleton pattern. Then the vector API. So this is typically a performance feature, because vector is a way to demultiply the way of working, demultiply, multiplexing. It is when you have some calculation to do it by block in parallel. So I will not explain more what it is, but you have to know that it is some kind of a complex feature. It is ready for those that need some part of their code that needs really high performance, that could take profit of this. But I will let you check this code and let you discover what it is about. Then the post-quantum TLS 1.3 hybrid key exchange. So you have to know that Java is doing some work to make Java API, libraries, etc. Ready for post-quantum computing, for quantum computing. So post-quantum, in the end, it means that it is ready in front of a quantum attack. So quantum computing can do some very intense and very powerful attacks to discover your API keys, your secrets, etc. So this kind of stuff is putting some resilient way to front this kind of quantum computing attacks. So this is a TLS 1.3 with post-quantum resilience. Then the toolings. So we'll get to this with the first JEP, which is the JEP 500, prepare to make final, mean final. So in the future, when you will want to modify something that is final and to change it, for example, by reflection, you will have some kind of warning, or at least an error saying you're trying to modify a final which is not normally accepted. So this is to make it more resilient and more safe for safer for any modification of your code which would you not authorize normally. Runtime. So let's get to some things directly related to runtime. So the head of time object caching with any GC. So Java 26 is also has also worked on making your Java start more quickly. And so this is the kind of stuff that make it more easy for you to start your application. So I let you check. Then G1 throughput improvement by reducing synchronization. Also some improvement on the garbage collectors. So the garbage collector, as you know, is a way to collect objects that are no more used. And one problem that you have is when you have really tight performance application, you have to optimize so that the garbage collector do not make some little blocking behavior on your flow. So this is again an improvement to make your application run smoothly even more. G1 default in all environment. So yes, it speaks by itself. So you will have a G1 in Java 27 used by default. And compact object header by default. Same default behavior and a compact object. I will let you check, but it is the same. It is to be able to have more interesting result at the runtime execution of your application. So the takeaways, the language. So primitive pattern, you can use a float, double, long, and the last one is Boolean. It is still in preview, but you will normally see it in the future versions. Library, we spoke about something about concurrency, security, quantum computing. So there is very interesting stuff directly aligned with the future that is coming in the world of programming and IT. Tooling and runtime, with runtime making things easier and still ready for performance improvement. And here are some sources. I let you check the sources. And so you have some InfoQ article, some popular persons in the Java community that share the last feature of Java, and also the page of the Java Development Kit on OpenJDK. And so I think with this, you should be able to find any information that you might find missing in this presentation, which was a bit short, but I think was quite enough to have an overview of what is possible in Java 26 and 27. I thank you very much, and I see you in another video. Bye.